All right, people, welcome to the live broadcast. This is going to be another broadcast about dispelling abortion myths, pro-abortion users arguments. Um, I have to, if I haven't reminded you or told you guys before, I have to let you know that I live near a train station. So if I have to mute my mic from time to time, or if I have to or if you hear some train noise in the back or whatever, I apologize for that. But trains come around here all the time. But nonetheless, this hangout is about dispelling abortionists that pro-abortion uses arguments too. I did a hangout earlier today talking about this thing, and maybe it was too early in the day. Maybe enough people didn't know about it, but at the time, nobody joined. But I said that I'd be probably doing another hangout in the same day later on. This is later on. Later on has come. So this is just going to be me talking about dispelling abortion myths that pro-aborts use. As I said in the first hangout today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for any pro-aborts to come into the room. And if they come into the room, I'm going to dispel the abortion myths and falsehoods that they argue, because the most consistent ones they use are for example, they'll ask me what is my position on the abortion issue, and I would tell them that I'm against abortion in any circumstance. If you're talking about the intentional killing of the unborn, in pregnancy, the active intentional act of killing, then there is absolutely no circumstance in which I'm cool with that. There is no circumstance in which I'm for abortion in any sense. None. So I'm against abortion no matter what argument is given. Now, pro-aborts need to stop trying to, play semantics with, with the word abort. The root word abort there meaning to stop something. There are a number of different ways to stop something when you're talking about pregnancy. Pregnancy can be stopped by miscarriage, by, sadly, in this depraved society, by legalized murder, killing, abortion, or pregnancy can technically be stopped by childbirth, be it premature or term. So if we're just talking about the stopping something, in general, then there's more than one way to stop something, but that doesn't mean that all the ways to stop something are acceptable. The abortion context I'm talking about is the intentional killing to terminate pregnancy. That's the one I am against in any circumstance. When they ask me when I tell them my position about that, the common claims is to appeal to alleged abortions to save a woman's life. They'll appeal to conditions like anencephaly, which is a condition of the brain in which a human can technically be alive, but they may be missing like half their brain or more than half their brain when they're born. And what pro-aborts would say is, since such a human doesn't have their entire brain, they can't live a full kind of sentient life like the rest of us. So they're, just alive but not living, and however semantic, subjective way they want to define what living means. But yes, if any pro-aborts want to come in here and bring your myths, come in here and bring your myths, but they will be dispelled tonight. I have the link available in the Google Plus for people to come in if they wish. They can come in and do whatever they want to try to argue their positions, but they're not going to be able to. Or if you're a pro-lifer, you can come in and listen, have a listen. I love to have you. But pay attention to the patterns pro-aborts use when they argue their positions. I'd say about 7 times out of 10, that's probably being very conservative, but just to be conservative, I would say 7 times out of 10, pro-aborts will try to argue their position emotionally and try to lead you down an emotional rabbit trail to try to pull on your heartstrings and deceive. Don't let them take you down that rabbit trail. Put their feet to the fire, stand firm, and stick to the facts. It don't matter what argument they bring. It doesn't matter which one that they bring. When analyzed closely and critically, not a single one works. Pro-aborts base their arguments on their personal, pretty much the majority of their argument, if not all of it, is based on their personal feelings. They try to manipulate the conversation emotionally in a number of different ways. They try to say, well, you're saving women if they have a life-threatening condition. You're against women controlling their bodies, and all this other nonsense. And let me focus on the controlling a woman's body part. Let me explain why that is fallacious reasoning. A little while ago, I think this is some weeks ago, in Sweden, there was this thing being proposed called male abortions. Basically, what that was about was if a woman gets pregnant, right? And I mean, let's say, you have a man and a woman, they have consensual sex, but the woman gets pregnant from that. If the man does not want to raise that child, then he can legally opt out to raise that child before the 18th week. He can give up all rights to his child. Can't see the child without her permission, can't have anything to do with the child without her permission. But he won't be tied to having to pay child support or anything like that. He can't be legally tied down with any sort of legal burdens like that. So as long as he's opt out before 18 weeks, he's good to go if he doesn't want to have anything to do with the kid. But I am against even that. I don't believe that dudes should be able to opt out of their responsibilities. I believe if both men and women participate in the act of making a baby, whether they planned the child to happen or not, they should take up their responsibilities like human beings and be adults and don't engage in activities that's going to bring babies into this world and don't want to take up your responsibility once the baby's conceived. So even for the guy, I don't think he should have any sort of legal out to avoid his responsibility as a biological father, even for the dude. So, but that was actually a proposal in Sweden for the man to opt out, and that's how they coined it male abortion. And even now, I'm against. No dude should be able to escape his responsibilities. And in the same way, the woman should be able to escape her responsibilities and be able to kill the unborn child. So it's not about me being anti-women. It's about me being pro-responsibility. What's up, E? How you doing, brother?
Yo,
Okay, so yeah, this hangout is gonna be dispelling abortion myths, dispelling myths pro-abortion use as arguments. I had a hangout earlier today, and no pro-aborts came, but I'm just gonna try it again to see if any show up because just like last night, the two dudes that you saw in the room, the doctor and Wolf King, when they asked me what my position on abortion was, they said, and I told them that I was against abortion, the intentional killing abortion in all circumstances. Then they went to trying to use these emotional arguments like a child born with a brain condition of anencephaly and just using these horrific cases to try to argue their points. And I find it very, very interesting that they keep appealing to these cases to try to justify their points because all they were trying to do was emotionally manipulate the conversation the entire time. I asked them both, would they join me in banning cases of abortion outside of uh, reasons like that, right? And none of them agreed that they would. So the fact that they cherry picked those horrific cases is, a good bit of reason to suggest that they were just trying to emotionally manipulate the argument because I don't recall even one time in their argument to where they tried to actually justify their position without using those types of cases.
okay.
I mean, what did you think about what they were doing? Because I don't know if you were listening around the time Wolfgang went, but he seemed to get really, really angry, as the conversation was drawing to an end.
I listened, but then I fell asleep and I saw that the hang up was over.
Oh, okay. Well, if you listen to the around the tail end of the conversation again, Wolfgang got really, really angry, and yeah, he just left. But now, one time did they try to argue their position, with any other criteria, like, that they just think if a woman is gets an unwanted pregnancy, that she just should be able to get an abortion.
And and how the baby would be born, right?
Right, right, yeah. Literally the entire time, if I remember correctly, they were just trying to appeal to all these horrific cases to exploit for their position. I just thought that was sad that they couldn't even try to base their argument on any other argument other than trying to manipulate the conversation emotionally.
Hmm. Hey, what do you what they said about the case? I was about the baby born with no brain. Would it still be murder if he decided to take the child off life support out of the womb? Like, would that still be murder? Like, is that all right? Like, would it be okay to like? Like if the baby was outside the womb and he's grown up and he's still a vegetable hooked up to a machine, shouldn't wouldn't it be okay to let the child die?
Well, here's my position on that issue. If the child is clearly alive, I think it's just murder to intentionally take that child's life. I mean, if you look at the case of the child with that condition, the one that lived past 2 years old, you don't just live past 2 years old, and you and it's just a simple matter of um, you don't have a brain. There was something else going on there to allow that child to live that long of life, and I think to kill that child intentionally would have been murder. Period.
During the conversation, I wanted to search up what Wolfgang was talking about. Then I saw a recent article that was like child with nearly no brain says mommy in 2 years.
What's
That's what,
that?
yeah, and the child was he didn't have he wasn't born with with a fully formed brain. I think it was like a brain stem, and after 2 years he's able to say mommy.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? And then they were sitting up here talking about, and that child was born with the condition because the condition is called anencephaly, and that was the condition that that child was born with. Yet that child was doing, certain things that other children would do around that time, like say mommy or whatever. So they clearly didn't have all their facts straight. And they just assumed that yeah, they was talking about it was the same as no head on a human corpse. Like no, absolutely not.
Well, this is what I want to know. If the child, since the child was born with no brain, does that mean that it's like on the line between life and death, like it's half alive and half dead?
Well, the condition of the brain doesn't determine life and death. Like say, for example, if let's say someone who was born with a full brain, right, and then they end up in a horrific accident and like I don't know. They just ended up with a serious like head injury, right? And like they sadly their brains was like spluttered everywhere, but they had enough of their brain to still be alive, right? They wouldn't be half alive at that point. It would just be a serious injury to the head.
Okay.
Yeah, this is as long as that makes sense. But I just thought it was really, really disgusting when he was trying to compare that 2 year old to a human corpse without a head. I just thought that was really stupid, and he was in no position to say what that child was doing or how the child was functioning if he wasn't even there, or none of those two were there. And I just thought it was really, really disgusting for them to try to presume certain things when they weren't even there.
Yeah, so I listened to what you guys were going back and forth. You two were very heated.
Yeah, I just got passionate about it because he's making a claim that he can't back up. Because there's clearly other details of the conversation that I mean, there's clearly other extenuating details of what was going on with that kid with anencephaly that we may have not been privy to. He had that condition, yet was still able to do certain things like 2 year olds were doing. So, I mean, to sit up here and say that that having the condition, the brain condition of anencephaly necessarily means that you just don't have a brain or you just don't have any kind of cognitive function or anything like that. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, you could share the link
Thank
because
you.
there's clearly yeah, you're welcome, bro. There's clearly more to the anencephaly condition than we privy to. The doc The very well qualified doctor said that kid had that condition. Yet, as you rightly pointed out, the kid was saying stuff like "mommy." So I mean, come on, man. You can't sit up there and tell me that having that condition means that you are not going to be able to function like your normal, average, everyday human being. But even if but if there was no functionality like the rest of us, so what? The fact of the matter is the parents didn't want to kill their child. They wanted to try to do whatever they could to make a life for their kid.
Hmm.
And if they don't want to kill their child, then the doctors who are working with the case would do whatever they can to um, do the best for that child in regards to the parents' wishes. Because there are so many horrific conditions to where children were born with or born into, and then the parents said, "No, I'm not going to. We're not going to kill our child over it. We're going to um, trust the doctors to find a way to help their child." So, appealing to those horrific cases isn't going to be an argument. Period.
Hmm. Okay.
I was just muting my mic to see if you had anything else to add or whatever.
No, I really don't know much, so I'm basically just thinking here. I'll ask questions if something comes up. That's mostly what I'll do.
Attention,
Hold
please.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to mute there for a bit as I live near a train station, and there's a whole lot of background noise and train noise and whatnot. From time to time, I have to mute my mic, but anyway, yeah, and both dudes, and you know what, man, I respect the fact that they came by, but both of them at no point in the conversation actually tried to justify their position. The entire time, they was trying to bait me emotionally into their position.
Hey, do you mind if I share something? I kind of found the video of that baby saying "mommy."
Oh,
Uh,
go ahead if you want to. Yeah, sure.
Dude, what's that smoke, Jeffrey? Wait, hold up. So there's some sort of smoke going on.
Well, while he gets whatever issues he has in the background resolved, yeah, they was trying to bait me into an emotional argument. That's all that was going on, and I didn't take their bait. That's really how it goes down when you're dealing with the overwhelming majority of pro-aborts. They will try to bait you emotionally into their position. You
Oh, dude,
gotta,
you see the screen?
yes, I see it now.
Okay.
For every mother, hearing their baby's first word is an unforgettable moment in their life. But Emma Murray from Lanarkshire, Scotland, never expected a single word from her youngest child, Erin. When the 2-year-old baby called her mummy, it became a miracle for the family and the medical experts. Erin was born with only the tiniest part of a brain. In 2013, Emma was rushed to hospital, followed by a severe pain on her stomach. She thought it was a burst appendix. She had no symptoms of being pregnant. Doctors confirmed she was about to become a mother. Emma was transferred to another hospital, where they found her unborn baby had a larger head than most infants. She gave birth to baby Aaron, and was immediately transferred him to the neonatal unit. She noticed his bigger head, and was anxiously waiting for some answers. After the brain scan, doctors told Emma that her baby had an extreme rare health condition called holoprosencephaly, a birth defect affecting the brain, and happens in approximately 2 in 10,000 births. Aaron was born with only a brain stem, which allows him to breathe and move, but does not have a full brain. Doctors concluded that he is incompatible with life. In most cases, babies having this condition die before birth. Aaron was transferred to a series of tests. The heartbroken mom sat by his cot rubbing his little hand. A 24-year-old girl, who unexpectedly became a mother, received the shocking news from doctors that her baby would die any time, within 24 hours. The hospital staff helped Emma to organize a baptism for her son. She was advised to invite close relatives to meet her newborn baby before he passed away. However, the baby's condition began to improve within hours. A baby with only a stem of the brain, and limited functions, could breathe, see and hear. It seemed like a miracle. After spending around 2 months in hospital for surgeries and treatments, baby Aaron was allowed home. The regular checkups showed he is doing well. However, the family was really worried about their little child, until he turned 1. Just 6 weeks ago, the miracle baby amazed Emma by saying "Mummy" for the first time. She burst into tears, and it became an emotional moment for the entire family. Aaron also surprised his mom by saying hello several times. The family always surrounds him with love and care, and he really liked to involve in everything that is going on. Emma, who was separated from Aaron's father, enjoys every moment with Aaron and his big brother Jack. Now the family is planning a big Christmas celebration for their miracle baby.
That's awesome, man. That's so awesome.
Born with only a little bit of the brain, he'll still able to say "mommy."
Yeah, it comes down to ignorance of pro-aborts, man. They're ignorant on so many things, and they were saying all this stuff. Well, he wasn't functioning. Like, according to this video, they was dead wrong. Okay,
Well,
period.
maybe it takes longer for the baby to process things since it has a really tiny part of a brain. Like, it might take longer for him to process something.
Yeah, that's all it is. I mean, yeah, I definitely agree. And the arrogance to presume what was going on with this kid when they weren't even there was just baffling to me. It was just disgusting.
Hmm.
But I'm glad you shared that video, man, because when these pro boards make all these arguments, they build their arguments on so much appeal to ignorance, and they just don't know what they're talking about.
Hmm. I shared your link, and it seems that some people are leaving comments that they don't really want to come.
They say they don't want to come. Who don't want to come?
Well, I shared it on a theist versus atheist discussion website, and two people don't really want to come. One told me to stop being a shill, and I don't really know what that is. And one said that Christians are going to have to let atheists die because they're simply not listening.
Okay. It seemed like wherever you posted it, it was just a bunch of trolls who don't really take discussions like this seriously. I don't really know what the heck was going on there.
This is a debating website where theists and Christians, debate each other. But I tell you, it can be kind of a joke house because there's also people playing me stuff who don't really want to back it up. And sometimes when I try to get them to a hangout, they don't want to come in. So far, I've only met like two people who've had hangouts, who've had live hangouts with me. One of them was nice, the other one was aggressive, and I was a little aggressive too. In the other one, we were talking about rape in Deuteronomy. He showed me some things that might change my view about the rape thing. That the rape applies to both all women, I guess.
Say that again. What was you saying?
I met two people on there who I recently had hangouts with. One in the second one we were talking about like uh we were talking dang it. We were talking about rape, the issue of rape in the Bible. So he gave me some things that he told me some things and showed me some things that made me change my view of it, of the death penalty for rape in the Bible. You there?
Okay, so what was the penalty?
It was Deuteronomy 22 verse 25. The penalty for the death of a betrothed woman was death. And that verse says that the raping for all women would be death. And then we went to verse 28. We kind of went back and forth, and now I'm basically having second thoughts about that verse, if it was actually consensual, or maybe it's applied to both cases, to like non-consensual one. The one with
And were you talking to an atheist?
yeah.
I guarantee you, this person didn't investigate the full context of what that verse was saying. Um, I would have to investigate the background context of whatever the scripture was, because if he was just trying to find a fault with the Bible, what was going on there, most of the time, what not pro-aborts, but what atheists would do is they will look at the surface. You know, they don't recognize they don't investigate the cultures. They don't investigate the extenuating circumstances based on those cultures. So
Yeah,
they ignore cultural context. They ignore a whole lot of factors, and they'll take one or two passages and ignore others. They don't. That's called cross-referencing. When you take passages as a whole and consistently compare them with other passages as well. You got a cross reference from time to time. They don't cross reference. They don't investigate the cultures and the context. They just read something on the surface and assume that they know what they're talking about, and they don't have a clue.
yeah. After that debate, I was thinking and thinking. Then I decided to do a little more research. I researched some ancient Near Eastern cultures. It looked like the rape out was because of the benefit of both the woman and the man. If you want, I'll give you the link to the hangout. Over
Yeah,
here.
yeah, sure, sounds good.
The hangout we had. It was like on Tuesday at 9 p.m.
Yeah, I must. Yeah, I definitely missed that, but that's but I guarantee you, man. If you are dealing with some atheists and they make a claim, it if you don't have an answer to it immediately, just be like, you know what, I don't have an answer to that right now, but I can do a little bit of background research for you and get back to you on that.
Hmm.
That's what I would do. It's okay not to know something.
Oh yeah, I know. And since because I didn't have much knowledge on it, I admitted that the Bible, uh, what he said that the Bible did not encourage the death penalty for rape. So basically, since because of my lack of knowledge, I had to admit that at the end of the video.
It's okay to admit to a lack of knowledge, but you don't have to admit to the conclusion that he made. Because here's the thing: if you go back and actually do the research and investigate it fully, you'll find that it was actually him who was arguing on ignorance.
Mm. Okay. Yo, dude, have you social justice warriors, right?
Oh yeah, I can talk forever about social injustice warriors. I call them.
Have you ever heard of Trigglypuff?
Uh, yes, I've heard on it here and there on the side. I don't really know too much about it. What is it?
Oh, you must. I must show you.
This should be interesting.
Basically, it was at a UMass, like a college campus. Milo and Lauder or Crowder. Yeah, they were at the guest speakers. But yeah,
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
yeah, they kept interrupting.
that was great, man. The responses to those.
Yeah, I
Uh,
watched. I saw a video on a YouTuber, a guy I watched. Then I watched the full debate, and then the response. I was like, oh damn, damn, oh.
yeah, it was like ooh jab, jab left jab ooh knock swing ooh. Yeah, it was just bad. They were getting destroyed, man. Those little elitists spoiled, have never experienced the World Cupcakes, was just getting their whole foundations unraveled before their eyes.
Okay. Anyway, dude, behold the Trickly-Puff.
There are certain schools of thought that are somewhat unwholesome, right, Milo? No, I meant to was Alright, I am here to provide some adult supervision. Oh, just calm down, young lady. Correct word for contemporary third wave campus feminism is not cancer, but madness. Utter madness. No, listen, this is very important. Future historians are going to look back.
Pause it for a sec.
Future generations look back.
AE, pause it for a sec.
One more disruption we have.
Hey, can you hear me? Do pause it for a sec.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, man, it's these crazy millennials, dude, that don't have a freaking clue about life. I'm assuming you're a millennial too, right?
Never heard of that. Was a millennial.
Oh, well, first of all, how old are you?
17.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're a millennial. You were since you're 17 years old, you're the same age as my brother Jordan. When you were born, like in 98, 99, something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, 98.
Yeah. You're literally the same age as my younger brother. I'm 30 years old myself. If you were born, in like the late 90s and grew up around the early 2000s, so to speak, then you're what they would call a millennial.
Hmm. Is 98 close enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Then you would be what they categorize as a millennial
Oh.
because you grew up at the start of the new millennium in the year 2000.
Okay.
That's hence the coin term millennial. But anyway, You're not one of those millennials that don't have a clue. You do know what's up. You know what you're talking about. But a lot of other millennials, these kids in their late teens, early 20s, these millennial children, they don't have a clue, man. They really don't have a clue. The lady that was on stage, she was actually one of those people who protested against the government in the 60s and was one of those hippie types. She's actually a Democrat, and even she sees a problem with a lot of the liberal nonsense today with social injustice warriors, and she's a Democrat, man. What does that say?
She's the real feminist here.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
And plus, she's the only one who. And plus, I'm pretty sure she died in the discussion. She addressed that problem with rape in Germany. I think did she? Did she? I don't remember.
I can't recall, but yeah, she was calling it as utter madness because that's what it is. Yeah, these millennials don't have a clue, bro. They absolutely do not have a clue.
Before I really didn't even know much about this whole feminist thing until I started watching videos like Red Pill Philosophy and other stuff, and then I see the problem. Now I know why it's such a big problem now. These
It's a huge problem, man, and even to the point that even a lot of the male atheist community is getting sick of it. You even got atheists getting tired of it. It's so bad.
Have you ever heard of like this thing called safe space? Have you heard of this thing called safe space before?
Dude, don't even get me started on some safe space. Do not get me started, man. Come on, man. I could talk your ear off for hours about these clowns and that safe space crap.
I recently watched this video. It's like Yale students whine and moan about like a safe space. Basically, this student was, I think, off-put by something that the master said, like his opinion. And then she's asking him to apologize for it. But the master was like, "I'll apologize that you're hurt, but he won't apologize for his opinion." And then she's like, "Well, you're supposed to create a safe space. You're not an intellectual, house." And I was like, "Girl, that's the point of college. It's supposed to be a place for intellectual, intellectual. Oh, damn it! I can't find
Intellectual diversity, where you have your views challenged, not to where you just sitting there and have your little worldview protected in some protected box, like a delicate little flower that can't have their feelings hurt."
Yeah, when I was watching that, I was like, "Girl, that is the whole point of college and universities for intellectual diversity. It's not a safe space." I was thinking to myself, like, if you want a safe space, then go home and sit out on a chair. That's home.
Exactly.
Is a safe space.
Exactly. These are little cupcakes who think they shouldn't have their feelings. But I saw part of that clip. I didn't see the whole clip. If you want to play it, go right ahead. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
And do you know about those people that say like black people can't be racist?
What you talking about? Like those Black Lives Matter groups?
Yeah, they call up an Asian girl because she said that black people can't be racist.
I live up there. My master's there. My dean. I love my college, and I can't say that anymore because it's not a home and it's no longer a safe space for me. And I find that incredibly depressing for the freshmen who are here.
College was never meant to be a safe space.
It's supposed to be a place where intellectual diversity can grow. If you mean like safe space, as in like there's no dangers from somebody shooting you.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that you're right about. You could be right about that. But you're talking about safe space, that you don't get hurt. Go home.
Exactly. You don't have the right to not be offended.
Yeah, especially me. I can be very blunt.
Good. Be blunt. Don't change, brother.
Our opinion has been dismissed. That you guys have not said, "I hear you. I hear that you are hurting, and I am sorry that I caused you to feel pain." I have not heard that from you, and I have not heard that from the rest. And that is what I want to hear. I don't want to hear anyone offensive terms because it's not.
She said she doesn't want to hear any more offensive terms.
Yeah, this is flat out stupid. Let me tell you
Oh,
about.
I never noticed that. I didn't notice that she said that. But
Uh,
but
if I heard correctly, I think that's what she said. But let me tell you a quick little thing about a college who implement these safe spaces or try to outlaw certain quote unquote offensive terms.
did you have any
Um,
like safe spacers in your days?
no, we this kind of crap didn't happen. You know, when I was coming up in my school, my see, I didn't go to a university college. I went to a technical school. So yeah, I went to a trade school, but yeah, we didn't have this crap when I finished high school and was in my uh trade school years. Okay, this crap didn't happen when I was around the time I was coming up. We didn't we there was no such phrase as safe space. Okay, none of this crap was happening around that time. This stuff is like within like the last 2 to 3 years or so. This nonsense has been happening. So when you ask me, did that crap exist? No.
I guess lots of college students would love to be in your day. When I was watching this, I was imagining myself if I was in this at that same exact time and moment, I would really go up there, and I was like, girl, this is supposed to be a place where intellectual diversity can grow. If you want a safe space, then go home. I mean, that's what I was imagining. I was like, man, if I was just there right now, the things I would say.
Oh, I know, man. Yeah, man. Right. And let me tell you something a bit about that. There was this college university. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a college university that was outlawing or not outlawing, but like kind of banning on their college like certain offensive terms or whatnot.
Offensive terms like what? These nuts?
I guess that could be one of those terms that they would ban, but it was just certain things like
Oh, how about
like
this? Wait, dude, how about this? This I came up with this today, dude. Have you ever pet a cat before?
pet a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you got pussy.
Wow. But yeah, I think there were terms that went along those lines that were banned. Like or terms that for their little protected classes of victims, like the LGBT group, it was certain offensive terms that couldn't be said. But with all these terms that they tried to not allow, guess what wasn't on their list?
What?
The N word.
Oh, yeah. Damn it. Sorry. Repeat that again. I didn't hear the whole story.
Oh, I was just saying that they had a list of words for their special groups of protected classes, like offense, like I guess phrases like faggot or something like that. Like they didn't allow things like that to be said, and they had these lists of words that were said to be offensive to people and were banned. But guess what
Nigga
was
wasn't.
not on that? Yeah, that was not on their list.
Ah. Uh, Wait, dude. There's one thing. See, me and a friend of mine were on the bus, and they were like talking about offensive terms. One of them was like a offensive term for a black person. It was coon. I have no idea what a coon is.
Okay. Let me give you a brief explanation about
Oh,
coon.
oh yeah, I'm that one. I'm that rare black person that doesn't know any of those words or slang terms.
Oh, and that's not a bad thing. Don't be embarrassed that you don't know because the
I
only
know.
people that know that stuff are a lot of dumb black folks. There's a lot of dumb black folks, and I'm not afraid to say that. Especially me being black myself, I'm not afraid to say that there are a bunch of dumb black folks. As there is dumb white people and dumb Asian people, there's dumb people in every race. But in this particular context, I'm calling them out. Yes, there are a bunch of dumb blacks out there. But anyway, basically, the coon term was originally actually something that was coined by white people back in the civil rights era when they were dealing with the black and white issue here in America in like the in between like the 30s and 60s. Okay, the term coon was coined by white people as to like compare the darker skin shade of blacks to raccoons, right?
Uh,
Yeah. There, it
I
was
guess now we know where the coon came from.
yeah, that's where it originated. But as time passes and we fast forward to 2016 now, ignorant, stupid blacks have taken that original term that white people used and used it against blacks who are said to be like too white or act white or talk white or whatever. And they're basically saying that if you act or talk or work with the white man or whatever, then you're a coon. If you, I got to mute for a sec. Okay, anyway, as I was saying, they've taken the racial term that was originally coined by white people, right?
Mhm.
Racist whites, and used it as a term to um, try to impugn blacks or insult black people that seem to not be quote unquote hood enough, so to speak, or not swag enough or not thuggish enough or whatever. Because basically, if you don't like the stupidity of black on black crime or people talking about Black Lives Matter, but you got freaking sick freaking thugs that need to be freaking killed who are going around shooting little freaking kids in their own neighborhoods. Yeah, because there was this little like what 9-year-old kid like a few months ago that was like shot execution style in the ghetto. Okay, and there was no freaking huge movement about Black Lives Matter when that kid was killed. So when blacks kill other blacks and when kids die in these freaking sick, disgusting neighborhoods, they don't want to say a thing. But if it happens by a white person or a white cop or something like that, then they want to get to marching out in the streets, talking about we shall overcome.
Ah, okay, I get it.
Yep. So these people are not really, most of them, and I will say there are those who are legitimately for good causes when they talk about Black Lives Matter. There are those who are legitimately, you know, about the growth of and well-being of black people. We are about the growth and well-being of black people, but they will call us coons because we don't talk like them or we want to get out their neighborhoods. And then if we want to get out the dangerous neighborhoods where they're killing each other in it, and they want to talk about, well, you think you're too good for us? It's like they just adopted this stupidity, man. And but here's the thing: are we going around selling drugs to kids to basically put them on a path to them not having a good future? Are we going around selling drugs to kids? No. Are we going around killing other our fellow black brethren? No. Are we going around denigrating women and using them in our music videos to make money? No. Are we going around uh, shooting at other people's family members and shooting at people's homes over freaking stupid nonsense? No, we're not doing any of those things. We are not the rapists, the killers, the drug dealers, and none of that. We're not doing anything to anybody else, but we're the coons. But we are supposed to be the worst people. And you know this, there was a story about this kid who was adopted by these white people, right?
Hmm.
And this kid flourished, okay? This kid flourished so much and he did so well in his life, right?
Hmm.
Because these the white people that adopted him instilled in him genuine human decency values, and he was able to grow and flourish because of it.
Oh, dude, this reminds me. One time in history class, my teacher was like, "White people are successful because they take advantage of everything."
That's 100% correct. A lot of white people take advantage of everything. That's 100% correct.
Yeah, like if everybody else did that, there wouldn't really be any problems.
That's
Like
right.
like in the black community, it's not the problem is. I'd say the problem is really itself. If they took more advantage of their opportunities, then they would have, then there would be like more businesses around there and less stuff.
But they want to. But here's the thing, brother. They want to call us the coons, and these people. When you asked what shill meant earlier, because you said you didn't know what shill meant. Shill means basically you are serving somebody without question and not really questioning them. Like if you like a shill for like white people, as they would say, basically they're saying that you're just a puppet who don't question whites and who would basically kiss the feet of whites and not that you wouldn't question anything. You do what they say. You believe anything they tell you. You don't critically think about anything. So basically, when they saying you're when they say you're a shield to something, that's basically what they mean. That you're just a sheep, so to speak, a blind sheep.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they'll say that we're a shield to white people, right? But these are the same people who will vote for folks like Bill Clinton, Democrats who
Oh yeah,
run.
that's the thing. During that debate, I'll tell you about. Miles said that maybe the black community should stop voting for Democrats and start voting for Republicans.
Right, you will have more of a chance to succeed. And I'm not saying, I think at this point in time, both parties have gotten like really, really corrupt, and I'm very sick of both parties. But I think you will at least have more of an opportunity to grow and develop as a human being, more likely than not, if you vote for a Republican candidate than if you do for a Democrat candidate. Because here's the thing: in all these places, all these rundown places, in minority neighborhoods dominated by blacks, where kids are disadvantaged in so many ways because of the terrible conditions that they live in and the crimes that go around them, the single motherhoods. These communities are ran by Democrats, black or white.
Oh
These
yeah, that.
places are ran by Democrats. So
Like,
why is it every time you have you have a community of people who are doing very bad in that community and don't seem to have a way out? It's because it's ran by Democrats and they want to say that they for black people. We're not the ones in one of those communities that are not giving those kids a chance to succeed. It's Democrats running those communities that's doing that crap, and we're the coons.
dude, speaking of which, this was the thing my teacher talked about. Back when like Old Town was still like new, it was a rundown place filled with like all murderous stuff and that. But then there were like white people came in, took advantage of that, cleared all the trash, and now they're making a lot of money off that. Basically, that's basically the same thing. The same thing.
Yep.
The neighborhoods are like that because they're not taking advantage of their situation. If they clear that up, they can start lots of things to gain more money.
Well, yeah, but I agree 100%. But blacks need to be educated, man. They need to Stop voting for these Democrats. They need to learn how to build, with one another, because there was a time to where blacks were very, very successful, very well educated, and this was in the early days. Um, this was like the pre Martin Luther King years, where they actually had this thing called Black Wall Street, because blacks were educated, they were thriving in their communities, and it was like racist Democrats who went in there and destroyed it.
Ah,
And they implemented a whole lot of deceptive policies to break down the black household. They planned to take the man out of the equation, and by doing that, it would naturally cause a breakdown of the black community. 30, 40 years ago, the single motherhood rate in the black community was 30%. Now you fast forward 30, 40 years later, now it's 70 plus percent.
mm,
Because in so many communities, the male role model, the male leader, has been eliminated out the equation, and this is by Democrats running these places. And then you have ignorant blacks who think it's the Democrats who are for them, when it's completely the opposite. And it's sad to me that you even have black Democrats that run those places and haven't done a single thing to improve those communities. So it's like when they get to a certain level of political power, they're not doing anything to fix those communities. Nothing. When you see people thrive, generally when you see black people thrive and really gain prominence, more often than not, it's because they believe in conservative slash libertarian ideals, not liberal Democrat ideals.
mm.
And you'll have people like Alan Keyes, Ben Carson, um, um, what the heck is his name? Alan West. Um, so many prominent blacks. Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice. Um, who else? Um, this is another guy I can't think of off the top of my head. Uh, uh, there's so many others that I can think of. Very, very successful, well-educated, articulate blacks, but most of them, but none of these men that I mentioned were Democrats. None of them. Very, very successful, very well-educated blacks, and I'll tell you this, brother: the Democrats hate those dudes. They hate them. They're not about inclusive for blacks. They're not about Black Lives Matter, because if you're a black conservative, they'll talk about you all day like a dog. Those people are just as racist as they come. If you have an R in front of your political affiliation, or if you're a libertarian or a conservative, they'll talk about you like a dog,
Mm.
because those who enslaved blacks were Democrats. They were racist then, and they're racist now.
Mm. I hear you.
Yep. And I'm not saying there are no racist Republicans or there's no corruption on the Republican side, but um, the greatest chance for someone to thrive generally lies in views that Republicans hold. Views that Republicans hold generally gives blacks the best chance to survive and to thrive.
Mm.
not liberal Democrat ideals. It was actually originally the Republican Party was founded by blacks. Did you know that?
Who said again?
The original Republican Party was founded by black people.
No, I did not know that.
That's right. Um, Harriet Tubman, she was a Republican. Gun-toting First Amendment Republican.
Wow.
It said there was this meme. There was this meme going around on social media that said Harriet Tubman questioning the government before it was cool. If you know about her story with moving people through the Underground Railroad to escape oppressive slavery, she was a gun-toting, not First Amendment, but gun-toting Second Amendment, anti-government individual. She was a patriot and a Republican. But she was doing things like questioning the government and going against it before it was cool. But now you got all these people who think questioning the government means you're a social justice warrior who wants free stuff, like Bernie Sanders followers.
Or a conspiracy theorist.
Well, yeah. There are certain, I try to be careful with conspiracy theory stuff. I'm not saying that everything, it's important to note that not everything that's a conspiracy theory is not based on good evidence. There are some conspiracies that may be legit. But I mean, I try not to get too deep into that type of stuff. But the point is, blacks have the best chance to thrive in at least the United States by those with the conservative / libertarian ideals, which are typically held by the Republican side, not by liberal Democrats. If you are a black conservative, they hate your guts.
That's what I've been thinking. I'm thinking that we should go to a Republican side because they basically have more businesses. Aren't more Republican? Aren't mostly Republicans those who have businesses?
Yes, Republicans generally believe in the free market system. They believe in the private sector, which is the lifeblood of the economy in the United States anyway. The private sector is what basically allows the United States to flourish in any kind of capacity. And the government has done so many corrupt and irresponsible things to put this country into trillions and trillions of dollars in debt and try to dismantle the private sector in so many ways it's not even funny. Try to get private sector businesses to be under all these unconstitutional government provisions. Liberal Democrats hate private sector business. They have this socialist liberal agenda on how they want the world to be. And things like a free market economy do not lie in their agenda.
Yeah, I hear you.
So yeah, there is so much going on with the fact that Democrats are absolutely not for the evolution or the um, the thriving and prospering of blacks.
Mm.
They'll lie to your face left and right. Though the sycophant. What's up, BA? How you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. What's going on?
No, it's interesting that you come in the room around this time because we're talking about how liberal Democrats are not for black people, right? And how people who try to say that Black Lives Matter, right? But like, let's take somebody like Al Sharpton for example. If somebody black gets like shot by a white cop or police brutality by a white cop or something, he'll come out and they'll be marching in the streets, right? But if like ghetto freaking thugs like shoot like a 9-year-old black kid, which is what happened a few months ago, if blacks kill their own, then they won't say a damn thing.
Yeah, that's the hypocrisy that tends to go on in the black community because there's this thing about don't snitch, don't tell. It's unfortunate that that's the norm, but that's why if you notice the system that's one of the reasons why the system is the way it is when it comes to descendant of Negro slave because deep down inside, I'll say just I don't want to say all of us, but I'll say there's a portion of us that believes that if we keep this street code or this underground way type of living, we'll get all the milk and honey and everything that got's coming to us. We don't want the reputation of being a traitor and all those things that come with it. But when you really think about it, they are really the Uncle Toms, the drug
Yeah.
dealers. Those are the Uncle Toms. So, because a lot of people like to say, well, the black community is this. Well, that may be what you see. That's what's promoted on television, but that's not speaking for all of us.
That's
Not all
right.
of us have that mind frame. So it's and that's why I stay away from the television because the television just paints it illustrates a horrible picture, and it lumps all of us into one category as if we're all we fit the stereotype or what's presented on television. That's not speaking for all of us. It's very unfortunate.
Now, our young brother here, Emmanuel, he's a cool brother, man. He's 17 years old. There's a lot of things he don't know, but I was just telling him about what coon means because he didn't know what a coon was, which is not a bad thing. It's not a big deal that he didn't know what a coon was because basically he talks like a very educated brother. He talks like how you doing, Bina? He talks like an educated brother. He talks like a well-composed brother, like a mature dude. And I was just telling him what things like coon means and why don't you like kind of give him your take on that?
Well, as far as I know, a coon is a person who's considered a sellout, or a coon is a person who's not black enough because he doesn't act the norm. And what I mean by that, if you're not down with the way of the street, or if you're not down for your people, then you're labeled a coon. When you speak out against your people, and you can do it constructively, because there's a such thing as constructive criticism, even if you just point something out from a constructive criticism point of view or perspective rather, they will not all blacks, but not all of our people. Now I hate to call us blacks because that's not even I've done some history on the word black, but that's another discussion. But the so-called descendant of Negro slave, what happens is that if you're considered a coon, then that means you're just a sellout, or you're not down with us because you may say something or you may critique us, or just because you pointed something out that's an actual fact, oh, you're against us. You're not really black enough because you sold out and and all those negative things they tend to paint you with. That's what I see as a coon, according to the people who like to label you that.
Well, don't you find it funny that they would call brothers like us coons for white people, but use a term that was originally invented by white people to disenfranchise blacks?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, and the thing is that you have a lot of like this pro-black movement that I used to be a part of, the Hebrew Israelites. They like to condemn white people. They like to curse white people, and I don't advocate hate towards others, but I have a problem with white supremacy. And the thing is that the Hebrew Israelite movement, what they like to do is always talk against the white man. But what they fail to realize, they have taken on the same image of white supremacy that has held them, that has been known to hold our people down. So only the difference is it's just black supremacy. That's what it is. I mean, it's just hate speech, and it's another version of supremacy. Is just black supremacy.
That's
So
right.
yeah, man. So but not all Hebrews stand on that doctrine. Those are mostly the guys that come out of One West, out of Harlem, New York. Not all Hebrews speak of that, and I know that for a fact because I'm still associated with a Hebrew camp that allows various ethnicities to come into their temple and teach, and they also are allowed to teach and dialogue and break bread, and we come to Christ together as one body. So it's just amazing that the pro-black movement, for some reason, they always want to discuss the problems, but they never want to discuss the solutions. They never want to bring up how can
And
we fix these problems. They never do.
and that right there, you just hit it nail on the head, man. You just literally just dismantled their entire worldview and just that one thought right there. They always talking about the problems all day, but they never talk about solutions ever.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Uh, it really is. All we can do is pray for them and hope that the Most High will take off the veil that's on their eyes. That's all we can do, brother.
That's right. Amen to that. So, what do you think of that, Emmanuel?
Meh.
What's up?
Meh.
Hmm. Met to what? Like, I'm not sure what you mean.
Meh is kind of like, okay.
Okay. But yeah, that's. Do you know what Uncle Tom means?
I mean, means whatever.
Yeah. Do you know what Uncle Tom means?
Oh yeah, I watched. I never really knew what that means, but I have heard of Uncle Ruckus. Uncle Ruckus, Boondocks. Nobody watched Boondocks.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I watched. A hangout that Echo did. He explained what Uncle Thomas was, and where the term came from. Basically, it was a black man who stayed with his master because he wanted to save his soul. And I have to explain that I really don't see how that's a bad thing.
That's the that example you use. That's the most popular term. A lot of people like to label other brothers that's as Uncle Toms that who may have a different view of life than other black people or descendant of Negro slaves. But the real Uncle Tom, because what they say is that Uncle Tom holding the people back. But when you think about it, the drug dealer, the pimp, the gangster, those are the ones holding the people back. When you sell your people poison, you're holding your people back. You're preventing them from gaining access to provide for themselves and their families. When you are a man that pimps a woman and you degrade her body, you're not allowing her to be the woman, and then you're not allowing her to be fruitful and multiply, and allow her to use her body for what the Most High has used and created her for. When you are gang banging, you are the Uncle Tom because you're killing your own people and you're not allowing yourself to grow with your brothers and build solidarity and have no type of brotherhood. That's the Uncle Tom, the gangster, the pimp, and the drug dealer. Those are the real Uncle Toms.
Yeah, like yeah, that's like spot on, brother. Like we ain't going around killing our own brethren. We're not shooting 9-year-old boys execution style over some stupid thug life nonsense. We ain't going around selling drugs to people, poisoning our people. We ain't going around uh, denigrating women to objects to make money off of in music videos. We're not going around doing any of these things, but there are actual killers, rapists, drug dealers doing all sorts of messed up stuff to their culture, and we're the ones who get called the coons and Uncle Toms. We're the ones who get called out for nothing, but they're actually doing stuff, the killing, the murdering, and all this other stuff, but they're not the coons. Really?
That's right, man. You can't choose the thug life. The thug life has to choose you. If the thug life chooses you, you survive. If not, you die. And the thug life chooses nobody.
But yeah, man, it's a really backwards mentality that blacks have bought into, man. It's just a lot of ignorance what it comes down to. It's a whole lot of ignorance, and it's gonna take brothers like us to educate those, our fellow brethren. And I'm not gonna just categorize this as just some black thing or African American, just our fellow brethren. I'll just say that.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm gonna tell you something, Young E. You are going to be called an Uncle Tom or a coon a lot in your life. If you keep the views you have and you stand by your principles, you're going to be labeled as those things a lot because you don't have this. Oh, I got to mute for a sec.
Damn, that train station.
But anyway, yeah. As long as you stand by your principles, man, you're gonna be called coon. You're gonna be called an Uncle Tom. It's just a whole bunch of sick stuff that they're going to try to label you as. But it's like BA pointed out eloquently and spot on. They talk about problems all day, but they don't talk about solutions. All they want to do is get attention and yell all day, talking about things like reparations and 4 acres and a mule and this and that, but they don't want to talk about solutions. And we are the ones giving people solutions for the black community to thrive. Like, get better educated, go to school, get out those bad neighborhoods, just do the right thing and be just a decent human being. That's how you start to get away from this nonsense. That's how you start to grow. That's how you start to thrive. But it's not by getting with some gang. See, and the thing about these gangs is originally they were based on noble principles. Originally, these gangs that you see, like the Crips and Bloods and whatnot, they were originally based on noble principles, and they actually had like noble ideals about themselves. But over time, they just de-evolved into these sick killers of people in their neighborhoods. It de-evolved into this crap about just controlling blacks and about repping sets and all this other stupid junk. And you don't have to be none of that crap in order to be a real person or as they would put it, like a real black person. You don't have to, you know, affiliate yourself with yo block, or you don't have to throw up a set. You don't have to, you know, align your loyalty to any of these groups who are doing absolutely nothing for the benefit of blacks in order to care about black people. You don't have to do none of that. All you have to do is just be a decent human being and act like you got some sense.
Yeah, we have to change the culture in the black community.
Amen.
We have to change the culture. It has to be about liberation. Um, and how you start by changing the culture. You have to educate. You have to. We have to learn how to humble ourselves to be willing to learn from each other and
That's
actually
right.
and understand that this is a struggle. But see, this is the problem I have with the pro-black movement is that they want to make it seem like that our people are the only ones that are struggling. There is
Also,
a mass. Say it
also,
again.
That's right.
also, they want to spread this thing that black people can't be racist. I mean, when I heard that, I was like, oh, is this serious? I mean, I was neutral on it when I first heard that, but it was interesting. But apparently, there are people who actually think that black people can't be racist.
Because their term of racism is as the whole as the norm is our people, we don't own nothing, we don't control the job structure, we don't run anything in the social structure world. So the system is set and it's predicated on certain people to have this and have that, and since we don't control none of that, we don't have a say so. That's why they say we can't be racist because we don't own jobs or we don't own any equity or we don't own any type of land or things of that
Right.
nature.
Well, of
So
course,
that's what.
because I mean, yeah, the minority of us don't really take advantage of things.
Yeah, but there are very prejudiced black people, just like there's prejudiced whites, there's prejudiced Mexicans, there's prejudiced various other ethnicity, all colors. Everybody has some type of prejudice in them, and that's just what it is. There is no such thing as this race just can't be prejudiced. That's impossible. You know what I'm saying? Every you have bad people. You have decent human beings of all colors, and you have disgusting human beings of all colors. So we have to realize that, and once we come to that, I think it'll help. Not to say that it's a positive thing, but once we come to those terms, then we can better identify with who we need to deal with and who we do not need to deal with. But one thing I want to say is that another thing in the pro-black movement, they like to make it seem like that our people are the only ones that are struggling economically. And that may be true to that may be some of it may be true in the sense of yes on the end of the economic scale we are dead very last. I will admit to that. That's not just some type of propaganda. Those are actual facts. But various amounts of people of all colors are now struggling because we have to understand that it's not about race. You know what I'm saying? It's about the system. We live in America, and not just in America, but various all around the world. We live in a system that is rigged to only benefit a few. So what we have to understand is that it's all about the few on the top. They control all the natural resources, and the rest of the poor masses, we either have to work or starve just to get a little bit from the crumbs of the table was left over. So
Amen.
there, there is a mass struggle going on, and it's not just with black people. It's with everybody it's with everybody. Um,
Yeah, that's well said,
Nowadays,
brother.
as you can see, I live in California, and we're having a big water war right now. Water right now is a major issue. They're trying to make people pay for water now, and then what they do, they constantly raise the water rates. Constantly, every so often, they're constantly raising up the water rates, and it's bad. I remember a couple of months ago, we were. I'm a community activist in my area where I live at, and we were getting the knowledge out. We were passing out information, letting people know what the water companies are doing and how they're trying to make people pay these outrageous water rates. So last year, back in I believe in April, the governor at the time, he needed the people, and he asked the people of California to conserve on their water. So I guess the plan was for the next couple of months, from April all the way up to about October, they wanted to see if people were going to conserve in their water. And people did conserve in their water. People, he had asked the residents, he asked all of us to cut back about 30% to conserve. Well, the public, we responded and we actually cut back. We went beyond that. It got to a point to where we did about 45%. So we went over, you know what I'm saying, we conserved more than what was expected. And since we did that, the water companies had to raise the water rates because of lost revenues.
Wow, you for real?
Yeah. So so this is the thing, but see, it's the system. So that's the problem, and this is what I notice a lot of Christians. And I'm not character. I'm not trying to say you guys. I'm just saying as a whole. A lot of Christians, a lot of Hebrews, a lot of various different religious denominations, they don't want to talk about economics. They don't want to talk about the system.
They don't.
They just want to talk about, like the Hebrews like to talk about the black man, the white man, the Mexican man, and everybody else.
Hold on a sec.
I'm in that.
Keep talking, man. I gotta mute myself.
I'm in that.
And a lot of Christians. Oh, go ahead, brother.
I'm in a like debate team in my school right now. The subject is like the subject for debating is like like political matter, like the U.S. for like policies and foreign policies and stuff that's going on in other countries. That's the stuff that we're debating right now.
Yeah. What are you studying in particular? What is it in particular you're really looking at?
Right now we haven't really like set up a debate. Right now we're just looking to like stuff involving the U.S. Politics right now.
Okay. Like as far as like politicians and the left and the right.
Hmm.
Pretty much.
I guess it depends on which. I guess it depends on which specific subject of that matter I want to switch up. Right now, I haven't thought of anything, but I have been thinking. You're broke. If you be quiet. Sorry, that's my brother. But I haven't been thinking about searching out some things that have to do with like foreign policies.
Well, when you get a chance, look for me on Google Plus, friend me, and I'll friend you. And whatever it is you may need, let me know, man. Because when it comes to political science and political economy, that is something that I study daily. And one thing about it, I'm part of a group called the Nazarene Messianic Party. We believe in the Bible. We believe the Bible is a book of struggle, about class struggle, and how the Most High God is against class struggle. He's about truth and justice and equity for all. We believe that Christ is the Messiah, and we believe that not only is the Torah, or commonly called the Law of Moses, is not a religious law. It's all about, you can actually, when you think about it, it's like the Constitution. It's like God's Constitution. We believe that, and we show that, and we teach that. So we can also show you a lot of parallels in the scriptures and show you that the system that we live in America, that the Bible has already condemned it. The Bible has already condemned capitalism, has condemned the way of the world, and we can show you various scriptures where the Most High, as far as his believers, where he expects his believers to stand out and to be the resistance and to be the revolutionaries of this world, and to bring in the kingdom, to usher in the kingdom, and to show people that the kingdom is not a mystical place in the sky, that the kingdom starts within us, and we bring it out and we share it with the world. I can show you that, and when you got time, my man, most stay in contact with me. We can most definitely build on that, and I can be a help to you the best way I can. Even if we're not going to get into the scriptures, we can get into political science. I can dang near tell you about just about every president and how corrupt every president is or was. and the ones, and even the one we have in office. So most definitely, I can share some things with you.
Antonio, you have a twin?
Wow.
Also, thanks, dude.
Yeah, yeah, BA, this man knows his stuff, man. I like listening to him talk, man. He just touches on so many things and uh touches so many elements that just a lot of people need to know and understand. He knows what he's talking about.
Hey, remember that conversation we were on about flat Earth? Is that really an important subject?
Are you stupid?
Well, I'll put it this way. In my personal opinion, if people want to have that debate, they are more than welcome to. But I think, as far as being a God-fearing Christian myself, for me, it's not an issue of salvation. So ultimately, it's not really a big issue to me at all. It's a non-issue for me. Period. I mean, if they want to have that debate, let them have it. But it's a non-issue for me. I don't really think it's something people should be going at each other's throats about.
It's the same thing for me too. I'm not really interested in that one.
You think the world is flat? Are you stupid?
Excuse me, be quiet. Did I say I think the world is flat? Did I say
Yes,
that?
you did.
Oh, be quiet, Jeffrey.
Yes, you did.
I agree, Antonio. The Earth being flat around, even though I understand it to be round, but it's not an issue of salvation. It's not gonna make or break my salvation with the Most High if I believe it's flat or round. It's not gonna make any difference.
And plus,
Uh,
and
what's
plus,
gonna
and plus, at the second coming, God will, if you want to, will ask God about the shape, and He'll tell us.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, my understanding is from what I've looked at, from what the things I've looked at is round. But for my what I would say is that I think as believers, as Christians, and the various other names we personify ourselves to be, we spend a lot of time debating and going back and forth over things that really don't matter. The kingdom of heaven is already here. You can read that in the
Amen.
prophet. You can read that in the prophet Daniel, and we believe that it started when the Messiah was born, and the kingdom of heaven. That's what he said. The kingdom of heaven is here. Repent. And I'm paraphrasing. But the thing is that it's our job as believers to establish His kingdom because it's growing. And and like I tell people, we're not talking about some place in the sky. We're not talking about that. We're talking about an actual kingdom that's going to fill the earth eventually. So it's our job to be to be prepared and to prepare people and to let them know the truth. Don't compromise. Don't add or take away from it. Leave it as it is. I don't see no issue with debating. I think debating is good for edification purposes, but I think it gets to a point to where we debate and we overly debate to where we're not being productive for the kingdom, and that should be our main purpose. If we're going to debate, make sure it's for edification purposes, and make sure these are debates that are worth debating. You know what I'm saying? Like the Earth is flat and round. That's not going to do anything. Debate things about who Christ is. Debate about his salvation through Christ. I mean, debate these things that matter, that can wake people up. Because I tend to notice, I know people that have come to the Bible based on the debates they've heard, and that's what I'm saying. The debates can be very good, they really can. But then again, they can be a detriment to the work and the productivity of this kingdom that the Most High has established through Christ. So we have to always make sure that we're productive because we're coming in the name of Christ. That's what we're coming in the name of Christ. So we need to make sure that we represent Him the best to our ability because we're in the last days. And to be honest, there's a lot of things that I'm pretty sure we may disagree on, but I'll just say this: the Messiah can come back anytime. He can make the second coming at any moment, and we want to
Amen.
make sure.
No
And we
man
want
knows the day or hour.
exactly. He can come 5 minutes from now after this conversation is over. But we want to make sure that when he does make it, we shouldn't have to remind, especially ourselves as individuals, we should be on our job. So when he does come, we're already doing what we're supposed to be doing. There's no need to be looking and wondering when he's going to come. As long as we stay on our job and prepare and bring people into the revolutionary gospel, I don't believe in the fairy tale book. I believe in the book of revolution. The Bible is a revolutionary book, and it goes against the social structure. It is anti-social structure. You cannot domesticate this eternal God. The religion, there's no such thing as religion. When you start to study the scriptures, you'll find out that this is not religion. This is a way of life. It is a lifestyle. It was never religion. It was never meant to be religion. So, and I that's one thing I go back and forth with a lot of guys who do Egyptology, a lot of Comedics and different denominations who like to go against the Bible. I prove to them that the Bible doesn't support religion. It doesn't at all. This is a lifestyle. You're either with it or you're against it. That's simple.
That's right. What's
Antonio,
up, E? What's up, E?
yeah, this is going to be on your YouTube channel, right? Because I want to download it and make a video of it.
Yep. It's live, and all live hangouts are automatically recorded and uploaded.
Hey guys,
Yep. It's live, and all live.
Anyone hear me?
hello.
Yo.
Yeah, go ahead,
What's
man.
up, brother? What's up, man?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. What's up? Listen, who's the guy that has the icon with a red symbol and a star? Who's that speaking?
That's a
right now?
BA. That's a BA.
That's me. Yes.
Okay, because I'm on my phone and I don't get to see everything the way I could see it on my computer. I just want to tell you that I agree with 100% everything you just said. My name is Joe. I don't know if we've ever spoken, but it's a pleasure to hear you on Antonio's channel saying what you're saying.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, BA Joe is a awesome brother, man. I'm pretty sure you and him will vibe very, very well, man. We share a whole lot of common views, man. Yeah. Yeah, he knows his stuff. BA Joe BA. Both of y'all, I've learned so much from the both of you. I would say that much, man. I love talking to both of you, man.
Well, it's a pleasure, man. I'm glad. Well, thank the Most High for thank the Most High for that, because it's not me, man. It's my love for the Messiah and my love for the
Amen.
Father. You know what I'm saying? It's
Amen.
not.
Praise God, man.
All right, so BA, I just wanted to introduce myself. I know Antonio pretty well, as well as we can know somebody through these mediums, but I don't think I've ever had a conversation with you. So I just wanted to say hello, brother, and thank you. And I'll be standing by. I'm at work, so I'll keep my phone muted in case my radio breaks open with some transmission, but I'll be able to interact with you guys. I'll just have to unmute myself.
All right, greetings, brother. Much love to you. Much love.
All right, thanks.
But I saw this hangout talking about abortion, and we got into talking about stuff like Black Lives Matter, Black supremacy, the corrupt people at the top controlling the world, and social justice warriors. This hangout definitely evolved into subjects I did not expect to talk about, but that's what I love about these hangouts, man. Like, conversations evolve, and they start a whole lot of interesting conversations.
True. Jeffy, please stop that.
And I just end up learning a whole lot of stuff that I just did not expect to learn or even anticipate to even talk about. But, man, yeah, I'm spot on with you about all that stuff, man. It's about honoring the Most High, and no man knows the day or hour of His return, man. We all gotta be ready to go. And the bottom line is, what's up, E?
Yo, dude, tell them about the thing we talked about that baby born with no brain. Oh,
Oh yeah, we were talking about it was this yes, okay, to give a little context behind this. Yesterday I was running a hangout on abortion, right? And we were talking about this brain condition called anencephaly. What anencephaly is a condition of the brain to where um, most of the brain is deteriorated or not there, so to speak, and what's usually only left is the brain stem of a developing human being. And in many cases, someone with that condition will die within 24 hours or so after being born. But there was a kid with that condition, with that exact same condition, and they thought the kid was going to die, right? And that, by the grace of God, that didn't happen. And the kid ended up living past 2 years old, and the kid said, "Mommy," and they was trying to justify abortion by using conditions like anencephaly. The kid said, "Mommy," okay, and they thought, that kid was not, functioning like the rest of us, your average normal human beings. They tried to claim that that kid wasn't living or functioning like the rest of us, or living in the same way of the what they would subjectively call the fullness of life, like the rest of us. And I got on their case about that. And I'm like, how do you know how this kid was living and what kind of cognitive conditions or how that kid was responding? You weren't there, okay? You weren't around when the parents was raising that child. How the heck do you know how that kid was living and responding? And I got on their case about that, and they tried to equivocate the case of that kid to a human, of course, with or a human without a head, basically, because they tried to say that since the kid's brain wasn't developed, that the kid wasn't really functioning, like a human being. It was essentially just being alive artificially, but not actually living, which they didn't know what the heck they were talking about. The kid was not on some artificial machine, first of all, and second of all, um, the kid was just doing many things that just amazed doctors. Okay, and they didn't know what the heck was really going on because they wasn't there. And I got on their case about that. It's like, how dare y'all say that the kid wasn't, living, in any sort of human sense like the rest of us when y'all wasn't even there raising the kid.
Antonio,
What's up, Joe?
you remember? I don't know if you heard. Were you on the Hangout session when I spoke about a miracle event that occurred in my life with my own child's birth, when all of the medical tests were showing that he was going to be born with Down syndrome and that we should, according to the medical doctors, abort him? Do you remember that story?
I think I do. Yeah.
Well, every medical test that we took, and they go through different progressions of examinations which eliminate what we would call artifacts of error. And according to the very last test that they made, this test is somewhat invasive because they put a needle into the what do they call that? The sac where the fluid is suspending the baby. I forget the medical term. I knew it when I told the story back then, but I think they call it amniotic fluid or something. And they withdraw some of that, and they do chemical analysis on this. And according to these scientists and their medical tests, my son was 99.99% afflicted with Down syndrome. And I told my wife, we are not going to abort this baby. God wants us to have this baby no matter how this baby's born. It's meant to be, we're meant to be its parents, his parents, and he's meant to be our child, and we're going to handle it however we have to handle it. And the day he was born, we were very afraid that he was going to be stricken with this. And a miracle happened because it went against every scientific analysis available to us today. And my son, God bless him and praise God that he was born 100% absolutely perfect as a human specimen can be. So the idea of us deciding at what point a human becomes a human, I think is the most, well, I would just say it's an ungodly way of looking at things. I could choose
Yeah,
other
I'll just
words.
call it off what it is. It's sick. It's absolutely sick. I don't mess words with it.
Yeah, I could choose other words to describe it. But I think ungodly does a very nice job. So I experienced that personally, and that's why I have the position that I have regarding when life begins. You know. Anyway, I just wanted to add that because of what you're saying about this brain not being fully developed, and humans, as you know, deciding that they know what the full capacity of the brain is because of what we know so far. They don't know everything about everything. I just wanted to say that, and I'll stand by now.
Well, thank you so much for your testimony, Joe, and praise God, man. That's all I can say.
The creator is gonna always stay a step ahead of man's knowledge, no matter what. There's always the creator, the Most High is gonna always be a step ahead, no matter what. How many times they could die, they can say this or analyze that and analyze this. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? When you got the Almighty, the creator of all things, that's all you need right there. Is that man? Science got nothing on the Most High God.
Amen to that, brother BA. Amen to that.
And as long as fallible creatures are using it, that doesn't mean that all the results are going to be correct.
Oh, hell no. Ew, terrible. What did you just say that?
You be quiet.
But yeah, absolutely, man. It just comes down to a fallible man thinking they should have the power and control over life and death. And you know what, man? In so many ways, man has been proven wrong time and time again. And what they'll do in their arrogance is be like, well, that was just one case or one or two cases. How can you try to argue against abortion for just one or two cases? And they still want to take control over having power over life and death, even when evidence contradicts what they say. Even when things happen and goes against what they say. They're basically gambling with the possibility that they could be wrong about what they're saying to justify their position. Because if there's even a chance they could be wrong, they're basically saying, okay, I could be wrong, but I'm going to argue that man should have power over deciding life and death for a human being.
Just let the baby be born and let's see what happens.
That's what I'm saying. And if you have parents that would not get an abortion and kill their children, doctors will do whatever they can in their medical expertise to do whatever is possible to help that child develop. It don't matter what the condition is. If it's the wishes of the parents that child lives, they will do whatever they can for that child, no matter what the condition is.
It ain't murder.
So if you got doctors,
it ain't murder if you say it's not human.
What does that mean? That doesn't make sense.
What they try to do is they try to take away the humanity and the personhood of the unborn to justify what they're saying. Because if you can take away the humanity and personhood, then you can justify any abortion for any reason you wish. If there is no person or human being, then of course you can kill, because it would be no different than like stepping on like an ant or something like that. You know, I mean, um, nobody gets mad at somebody stepping on an ant, really, maybe except for extreme animal insect activists, maybe, but that's another issue. Those are very, very rare extremists, but generally speaking, somebody ain't gonna throw a fit about you stepping on and killing an ant, okay? Because an ant's not a human being, an ant's not a person, okay? But they'll throw a fit if you, uh, but if they can find a way to take away the personhood, the humanity of the unborn, then they can justify their position any way they wish. That's what the attempt is. They want to use their own personal subjective standards to justify their killing positions. They'll say, well, the unborn's not human, or the unborn's not alive, it's not a person, or it's not viable, capable of living. It's only a couple of cells at this point. It can't feel any pain. All sorts of things. Just sickening things that they use to base their positions on. They got to go every which way, left and right, to justify their disgusting positions, because they have no moral foundations to stand on. They can't argue their position, and they know they can't. That's why they have to appeal to their own subjective reasons and standards to try to take it to the place that they don't want to take it to. And they'll try to manipulate you emotionally and lead you down an emotional rabbit trail, pull your heartstrings to do it. But you can't let them do it. You can't let them bait you into doing so. If you are a human being, then you have the same human dignity and same human rights to live as everybody else. And it's really as simple as that.
True.
Well, the Bible talks about, I think it was John the Baptist said that that God formed him in his mother's womb, and God was the one that separated him from his mother's womb.
That's
So
right.
For us to think that life begins after the baby is delivered as a human, that scripture makes that stupid. And the fact that it says that God formed him in his mother's womb means that every single phase of development, including fertilization, is God's creative work.
Right.
That's,
even before.
Life begins right there. The minute.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Before that, I mean, we have all of the genetic information for the. I didn't know this, but a woman's egg has information that communicates with the sperm. A lot of times the image we get is that the strongest sperm survives and gets in a while.
Eh?
Something happened there with, I
Let
don't
me-
know, but
let
I was
me-
about this. Go ahead, man.
That's what it's doing. You just gotta do it.
Let me add to what Fat Finder said.
Who's Fat Finder?
Jeffrey, I'm talking. Please stop that. When you talk about information, that's the thing. Information doesn't come from random chance and lots of time. That doesn't really happen.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
Where does information comes from? It comes from intelligent
Computers.
agents. So if you're going to say it came from nothing, then you got to demonstrate it somehow for us to observe. Like, are you telling me that if I leave a spilled juice over time, it'll somehow gain the information to turn into green slime and then move by itself?
And that's not nice.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. But what I was gonna say earlier was that if we're talking about from a biblical perspective, it says in the word that before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you.
God knew us.
So there is a clear indication of his plan and knowing, even before he made us, that he knew who we were. There's a clear person element there long before the child is even born. We're all created equal. It doesn't say we are all born equal. It says we are all created equal in the Declaration of Independence. We're all created equal under the Most High, created equal under God. There's a difference between saying that we are created equal and that we are born equal. Um, but yeah, we as human beings do not have the right to decide.
Greetings. Shalom, bro.
Shalom, man. We as human beings don't have the right to decide um, the human dignity or lack thereof of another human being without due process. When you talk about killing a child in the womb, you're talking about using your own personal issues to say that that child has absolutely no right to live, and then to go on these secular tangents like the baby needs to have consent and all this other stupid stuff. And I was talking about that yesterday about how a baby cannot consent to using a woman's body. That shouldn't even be an issue. But when I exposed them on this point, I said a baby cannot ask for consent, and then they said, "Well, no, the mother has to consent to the child using her body." And then what I asked them was this: I was like, "Okay, let's use the consent point. Newborns cannot consent to be raised by anybody. Newborns cannot consent to be raised by anybody. So would it or and if nobody had a legal obligation to raise a newborn, would that be immorally wrong to kill or abandon a newborn child?" And he agreed to that. He said, yes, that would be wrong. And I asked him, would it be wrong to have a society that had no obligation to raise a newborn? Would it be in a moral society if nobody had the obligation to raise a newborn child and just leave that child to die? He agreed. He said yes, that would be in a moral society. Well, wait a minute. You just said that a woman in a womb had to give consent for the unborn to use her body, but you think it's immoral when nobody in society gives consent to a newborn child. How can you arbitrarily out the ether think it's something wrong when that happens when the child is born, but for some reason you think there's no moral obligation for the mother to nurture her child in the womb? How can you out of nowhere arbitrarily say that the mother has to consent to the child using her body, but nobody in society, but somebody in society has to consent to the to raising the child?
You still there, Antonio? Still there? Is anybody there?
He's probably busy. One.
My bad. I was having internet issues there. I'm probably gonna be bringing this. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and bring this hangout to a close. Is there anything you bros would like to say before I do so?
Oh no, man. I would just like to say, I think when it comes to the abortions, one thing I noticed is number of young women getting abortions. So I think what we need to understand is that a lot of young women are not. It starts with the foundation at home. We have to teach our children that sex is not a thing to play with. Because look at the influences on TV. They sell sex, they promote sex like it's the thing to do. Like there's no kind of consequences that come with it. So I think as fathers, as parents, or men of the Most High God, we have to teach our children and the youth that sex is meant for a man and his wife, and it's meant to enjoy, and it's meant to have a good time with. I mean, it's meant to enjoy, to have pleasure, and to make and to create a family. That's what it's made for. It's not made to promote and to sell and just and just go crazy with it. And that's the society we live in. This is a sick society. It is perverted, and sex is selling. They're using something that God gave man to cherish and appreciate, and they've turned it into a hustle. They're making money off of it, and they're influencing and enticing our children, and that's why we're having staggering numbers of teenage pregnancies like crazy. Because and I have a teenager. She'll be 12 so. So, Most High willing, I pray that I continue to be a strong example for her, and I pray the Most High uses to show her that wait is best to wait when you find that special man in your life, and hopefully, I'm hoping that she doesn't get sexually active till she gets married. That's my hope. That's my prayer. So, but that's
Amen
it.
to that, brother. Well said. It's interesting you bring that up because only by the amazing grace of God working in my life, I'm 30 years old, and I proudly say that I'm still a virgin now. And that's I've done so many things wrong in my life, man, and made so many mistakes in my life, man. But if there's anything that I can just praise God more than anything else, is that I've stuck to my principles of waiting for the right lady until marriage, and I intend to stick to that until that time comes. Um, and pro-aborts, they cannot stand people who actually have self-control sexually. Like, my virginity is like insulted all the time by freaking sick people who are consumed, with getting their rocks off. And they don't, there's been a poison in this culture that has infiltrated, and people have lost any sort of semblance of what self-control means or responsibility means. There's been a poison in this culture to try to facilitate people's lack of self-control um and basically justify it. They don't want to tell people to control their urges. They don't want to tell people to show restraint. They want to say, okay, you're not capable of showing restraint, so just throw on a condom because you're not capable. Because you're surely not capable of controlling your urges. You're surely not capable of any kind of restraint or any kind of control over your internal drive to have sexual pleasure. You have no control over that. So throw a condom on. Take a pill. Do all that stuff. And I'm not sitting up here advocating to make those things illegal or whatnot. Okay, just to put that out there. But what I'm saying is, we have a culture that teaches people that self-control is not possible. A culture that teaches people that we have to fall victim to our urges and our sinful nature. I have the urge to do a whole lot of things. Like, I have the urge to be a glutton and eat more than I need. But that don't mean I should do it. That don't mean I should engage in that sin. There's a lot of urges that we have that don't mean we should be doing it. A lot of people like to drink a lot, and that's why you have people that have drinking problems. Those are urges people have. But do we sit up here and say, well, if you ain't gonna control your urge to drink, just drink all you can, but drink safely? Like, no. Like, we would teach that you have to drink responsibly, but we don't sit up here and say that if you're just going to have this uncontrollable urge to drink all the time, then to do it safely. No, that's not what we teach, and that doesn't make any sense. So we need to get out this idea that we don't have any self-control over certain urges that we have, or that our internal instincts run our lives and we don't run our instincts. When people start to get out that mentality and they realize that they can take control and that they can be the ones, they can take the power back. When they realize that, all excuses go out the window. That's what's the core of the issue, is that they don't want to be held accountable for their actions. They know they have no excuse. And to admit that they should have the self-control not to engage in sex if they don't want to risk the chance of making a child, they don't want to admit to the fact that they have no excuses. That's why they fall back on all these arguments like safe sex and whatnot. And I'm not saying people should, have unsafe sex or anything like that. That's not what I'm arguing. What I'm arguing is people need to stop making excuses for their actions. If they want literally zero chance of making a baby, then don't have sex. That's just the bottom line. Short of getting your reproductive system removed, there is no way that you can engage in sex and not make a baby. There is no way you are going to be able to have sex every time and not have the risk of making a child. Abstinence is the only 100% way, or celibacy is the only 100% way to not create a child. That's the only 100% way that there is outside of getting your reproductive system removed. When we take back the power that we have, when we show that we're in control of our urges and our urges don't control us, then we have no excuse. They want to get rid of responsibility and say, well, it's my urges controlling me. So, no, I'm not responsible for my actions because it's my urges. It's within me. We have a lot of urges that we have to control. But we don't blame anybody else but ourselves if we're not able to control them. If someone doesn't control their urge to eat too much and they end up becoming overweight, then they have nobody to blame but themselves. And the same thing goes for sex. Take control of your body. Take control of your mind. That's what it comes down to. Take control of your mind. Stop making excuses and be responsible. But you can't have it both ways. You can't risk the possibility of you can't engage in sex and not accept the responsibility of making a child and raising that kid. If you're gonna engage in sex, you need to accept that responsibility if a child is conceived and take that responsibility seriously, or don't have sex at all.
That's right, man. Yeah, all these problems, because people can't control their urges. That's reasons why, we have TV shows like Teen Mom these days. Because of people who can't control their urges. If you don't want to get pregnant and don't have sex, wait till you're married. I mean, even if you have an accident, it'll be okay since you're already married and you can just have the child. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right, the train's coming by here, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this hangout. Uh, Thank you guys for coming today, man. I really appreciate y'all dropping by, man. Y'all take care of yourselves. Have a good night. God bless, man.
You too.
Shalom.